This is going to be Diener Warpwood Quarter as a Discipline Priest. So showing a new character here. Levels 36 right here. My Maghar Orc. Maghar Orcs were the first allied race I had unlocked. I had this character just sort of sitting around for a while, and finally took her for a spin recently, and oh man, Discipline is like super amazing. So a Discipline Priest was the very first class and spec that I ever played in this game, and continued playing for most of the time that I had played this game, but for some reason, like this time around, I just didn't feel like I was all that interested in Priest as a class. But like, as soon as I played this, I was just right at home, and I don't know what it is about it, just like, I really, really like playing a Discipline Priest. It's one of the most fun things for me for whatever reason. Anyway, yeah, so Discipline, healer spec, 1 of 6. 1 of 2 priest healer specs. It's the only class that gets 2 different ways to be a healer. I've never really tried being a holy priest. Kind of looked at it once or twice and didn't think it looked like my kind of thing. So Discipline is kind of about damage prevention and damage dealing for healing. So it's a little complicated and weird. It's like probably the most unique of the available healers. So anyway, number 1 here, Powered Shield. Puts a little absorption shield on the target. Has no cooldown of its own, but the target also gets a debuff. That means they can't be re-shielded for a certain amount of time. So it can't just like shield, 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 and protect from any damage. It's, you know, it has... I can only use it so often on any individual. Under normal circumstances, at least. There are ways around that. Number 2, Shadow Word Pain. Applies a ticking damage over time. Nothing much to it. That's about it. Right, that little skull icon there is on Pusillin, the imp. One of the times I was here, I forget if it was the run I showed or not. You gotta talk to this dude at the start of the dungeon, and re-talk to him as he goes through there, to actually be able to fight him as a boss. And he's kind of hard to keep track of, so I like to put an icon on him. I think somebody else beat me to it, because I wouldn't have put the skull on him. I prefer a different icon. Anyway, yeah, so number 3 is the Discipline Priest's signature ability, other than I have it both in my attack and healing action bar. Yeah, what I consider the Discipline Priest's signature ability. That's Penance. So Penance fires 3 to 4, depending on talent choices, bolts of either healing or damage, depending on whether you have a friendly or unfriendly target. And it is one of the most satisfying buttons to press in the entire game. Like, just look at that glowy, shiny effect. It's so good. So it hits decently hard. It's my hardest hitting ability, although I can only use it once every so often. And my hardest hitting healing ability, too. So, you know, I like to have Powered Shield up on the tank when they're taking damage, whenever I can, to just prevent their health bar from going down. Shadow Word Pain ticking on the... oh, right, I haven't talked about Atonement yet. I'll get there. Anyway, yeah, so Penance when needed. To heal. It's both a pretty good heal and a pretty good attack. Number 4 there is Holy Nova. It doesn't do much. Does a little bit of healing and or damage to everything around me, but it's so weak it's not really great at either of those things. It's just kind of a button to push in a situation like this when there's like 10 targets around. As far as healing goes, you know, if everybody's down like 3% of their health, Holy Nova can get them back up, but it's not really good for much else, at least at this level. So yeah, oh right, sorry, number 1 on my attack action bar is Smite. So just repeatable, cast time, instant attack when it lands. Does pretty decent damage. So anyway, other than shielding, the real interesting thing about Discipline Priest healing is that when I use Powered Shield, or Shadow Mend, which I haven't talked about yet, or Powered Radiance, which this character doesn't have yet, that target gets an effect called Atonement for 15 seconds. And what that means is every point of damage I deal heals that target for a certain amount. I think it's reduced a little bit. I forget how much it is, 50% or something. So the ideal way in a low to moderate throughput situation is I would shield anybody who's going to need healing, then start smiting and penancing and Shadow Word Pain. I don't know if Shadow Word Pain is really worth using. I use it because, you know, it's free ticking damage, but it does cost an action to apply it. Anyway, yeah, so Smite and Penance, those are the big hitters. And Power Word Solace when I get it, but apparently I don't have it at level 36. Yeah, so the heavier the damage dealt, the more the healing goes to the targets. Having to use my Shadow Mend here, I'll talk about that in a bit. Yeah, so ideally, Atonement would make up the bulk of my healing. So like when I'm using something like Penance, I can see each bolt landing and increasing the health bar of the target just a little bit. It's not huge, but it's a little bit. So it's kind of a balancing act, deciding whether I can do an offensive Penance and just get the little bit of Atonement on the target, or if they really need the full heal of it. Because that's my best healing spell. I want to use it whenever it's off cooldown on either a friend or an enemy. So that is the decision to make, which one of those I'm going to choose. Now, in emergency situations where my Penance with its cooldown and Power Word Shield and Atonement can't keep up with healing, which is pretty often, honestly, because like even altogether, those are not a sufficient healing toolkit. That's where I have Shadow Mend. So Shadow Mend, Discipline Priest actually starts with Flash Heal, as does Holy Priest, but it changes into Shadow Mend at a certain level. Shadow Mend is a pretty normal healing ability for the most part, except that it has this weird effect where, like, when you cast it on a target, they will lose a certain amount of health after they gain from the Shadow Mend, unless they take that damage from any source. So, like, if somebody's already taking damage, they'll get the full benefit of the Shadow Mend, but if I cast it on somebody out of combat, they'll go back down a little bit. I don't know, it's weird. It's like, I guess that's mostly for flavor, because, like, Discipline's kind of the dark healer, I guess, of sorts. So yeah, if I really need to maximize my throughput, then, you know, Power Word Shield whenever Weakened Soul is not on the target, Penance whenever its cooldown is up, and Shadow Mend at all other times to fill in the... Reflect. That's not great. Well, all three of those smites reflected on me, I guess. I must not have noticed. Anyway, yeah, so that's how I would maximize my throughputs. On single target, at least. So we had kind of a turbo tank in this dungeon, making things interesting. I knew the route, he knew the route, everybody else was able to keep up. We're going fast. Oh yeah, right. I've opted into a talent called Body and Soul, which makes Power Word Shield increase the target's speed for 3 seconds. So in a situation like this where I need to catch up with somebody, or if I have a Warlock in the back who needs to catch up with the party, I'll just shield over and over and get the speed boost to catch up with where we're going. It's pretty cool. So yeah, that's Discipline Priest's basic toolkit. I get a few more things later on, but it feels pretty good as it is, just with these. And yeah, I don't know, just one of the reasons I love it is I really like classes that always have a button to push and have, like, interesting decisions for which button you want to push at any time. So, you know, I'm trying to get Shadow Word Pain on all 4 of those targets, for example, just so it's up and ticking. Redo it when it falls off. Keep an eye on the tank's health bar. Give him Power Word Shield. Vaguely keep track of when 15 seconds is up and my Atonement has fallen off, if somehow I've gone that long without Shadow Mending or shielding him. And reapply it there. And then just decide where my penances are going. Do I attack with them, or do I heal? Let's see, beyond that, Smite also has this weird little effect where, when it lands it applies a thing that causes damage dealt by that target to be absorbed, but apparently it's not very good and doesn't really have a huge effect. But it is a thing that happens. So yeah, that's why another debuff icon appears when my smite finishes casting. Penance doesn't do the same, it's just smite. Anyway, yeah, some other various tools. Weirdly, my Dispel is kind of weaker than I'm used to as a priest. So a Mistweaver can dispel poison, disease, and magic. A Paladin can dispel poison, disease, and magic. A Druid does, I think, poison, curse, and magic? Priests only get 2. They get magic and disease, but not poison. So I can't deal with poison, and I don't get to deal with curses either to make up for it. So I only get to dispel 2 types of magic. It's fine though. It feels so good to play that I don't really miss poison dispelling that much. Can just do without it. So yeah, Discipline Priest, for some reason, maybe just because like it's so complicated, for some reason just doesn't seem to be a very popular thing to play. I see very few of them in dungeons. So I don't know, I guess I'm happy to increase the representation by playing one, and I don't know, it might just be my favorite class and spec. It's so good. It's like super fun. There's a lot of stuff I like, but I think I like this one best. Because yeah, I just felt right at home as soon as I played this. Ran this character through a lot of dungeons in not a whole lot of time. Mistweaver is really good too. I do enjoy that. It's almost as much fun as Discipline, but only almost. I should try Holy someday. Maybe it's good. Who knows? Maybe I'd like it better, but just like from last time I looked at it, it just did not seem appealing to me for whatever reason. When Discipline is just right there and feels so great. Only place where it doesn't feel so great is, you know, like everything except Mistweaver that I've leveled healer-wise has just had, like, always throughput problems. If people are taking heavy damage, I just don't have the tools to dump my mana bar into saving them. I can hit my Shadow Mend button over and over, and, you know, Penance as often as I can, Power Word Shield as often as I can, but the limit of that throughput, pressing those buttons as fast as I can, is often just, well, occasionally, just not enough. Whereas like a Mistweaver's equivalent of, you know, you're doing Mist first, then Soothing Mist and Vivify over and over, will use up their entire mana bar if you let it, but it will keep just about anyone alive. Like, you would need some incredibly heavy damage to die when that is going on. It happens occasionally, but not as often as with other healers. But, you know, again, like I said, you know, I've had the same problem on my Holy Paladin, I've had the same problem on my Restoration Druid, which I guess I haven't shown yet. Druid healing has just not agreed with me so far. Paladin healing is, it's sometimes fun. But I don't know. Of the ones I've been playing so far, I guess my ranking is Discipline, Mistweaver, Holy Paladin, Restoration Druid. Haven't spent much time with Restoration Shaman yet, haven't spent any time with Holy Priest yet, so I'll learn about those when I get to them. One thing that's a little weird though is like I like to learn a talent specialization by leveling with it, and this character is already, I think she's level 54 as of this recording. So that's a little late to be learning a holy spec, you know. If I'd wait till 120, I'd have like, you know, 20 buttons I have to put on my action bar and figure out when and how to press in dungeons that are tuned for people who know what they're doing already. So it just gets harder and harder to learn something new as the character levels up. I can make a new priest and level as holy, I guess. I don't know if I want to do that, though. But I could. I don't know. Haven't really touched Shadow either. That's the damage specialization. I remember having a lot of fun with it way back in the day. Don't remember much about how it works. One thing I do remember is it was reasonably easy to learn at what was maximum level then, so I'm less worried about not having done that at all during this leveling process. But yeah, I suspect what's going to end up happening is I'll just pretty much never play this character as a holy priest. Just because discipline's right there and I love it. Oh no, I got sacrificed. Now I can't do anything for a moment and I take a tiny little token amount of damage. This probably was scary once. It's just tuned in such a way that, like, I took, you know, an eighth of my health bar or something. It's like nothing. Supposed to jump off the west side of that platform, not the south. I picked the wrong direction, and so did a lot of other people. Turbo Tank knew where he was going. He was already in combat long before I got there, and I got there long before anybody else. I know, this is a pace I enjoy. There's such a thing as too fast for me. This is not it. This is comfortable brisk, as far as I'm concerned. Like, some tanks would be running off right about now to find the next group of enemies to fight, while everybody else is left to deal with the dregs of their last thing. Yeah, he did leave slightly before that last one died. Yeah, so that's usually when it gets annoying for me, when you know, there's like a third of the health bar left on your last project, and then you're off to start a new project while the rest of us are cleaning up your mess back here. Anything short of that usually just is not, is just perfectly comfortable and fun. This room's a bit dangerous. Are we going to have anybody die during this, I wonder? So yeah, lots of things patrolling around. Lots of things that can catch you off guard suddenly here. Definitely had several runs through this dungeon where at least one person has died going through here. Sometimes the whole party. Don't remember specifically how this one went, but yeah, if there's going to be a wipe in the dungeon, it's probably in this room, usually. You gotta talk to this guy to get through the door up there, and he didn't bother doing it, so I went and did it. Oh right, another thing about penance, you can cast it while moving. It doesn't get interrupted by movement. Oh, and another thing about Smite, so this is interesting. I was talking about when I was playing my Hunter character, it used to be extremely easy to accidentally target and attack something in the distance just by like pressing the T key. That's my attack key at least. It would just immediately shoot an arrow at it. Nowadays on a Hunter, if I press T once, it assigns the target and doesn't start an attack. If I press it a second time, ouch, then I'll start attacking. Ouch. Okay, so I had threat on those for some reason, tried to bring them to the dude who would take them off me. It took him a moment. Everybody survived. Yeah, so anyway, Hunter was fixed at some point just to make it much harder to accidentally start combat with something in the distance. However, the opposite happened to a Discipline Priest. If I just press my 1 key with Smite on it, with nothing targeted, it will choose a target and start a cast on it. I have a moment to interrupt that cast. Smite is interrupted by movement, so I can just move a little bit if I don't want to reach over for my escape key. I haven't yet accidentally let the cast go off and caused any problems with it. Yeah, just as invalid target if we can soul this on my target. But yeah, I'm helping this Warlock along, catch up with the rest of the group. Since they were the furthest behind, I stayed behind with them and brought them up. Yeah, so it hasn't yet caused a problem, but it definitely has potential to. Everybody's going on the other side of this pillar. I don't quite notice that that dude is so close over there. Fortunately, Mr. Krugswa does, and picks it up as soon as it comes through. So he's very attentive, is anticipating the potential problem, and immediately ready to deal with it when it happens. So I always appreciate that. See, I was pretty sure it used to be that if I'd press the smite button without a target, just nothing would happen. It would just say, no target, and do nothing. But now it picks one and starts smiting it. That's still nowhere near as bad as old hunters were, because, like, shooting an arrow happens instantly, so you have no chance at all to cancel it if you accidentally would target something and start doing things to it. So yeah, it's fine as it is, just like I have to get used to the different feeling between the two. So this particular tank is a warrior. I've had some interesting experiences while leveling this this character. So she's the second dedicated healer I've leveled, this time around. Farron was the first one, and I was just like figuring everything out from my long time away from this game. So I'm seeing some patterns. Second time around as a healer. Warriors are definitely the most durable tanks at this level. They take the least damage pretty consistently and are no problem to heal. Paladins are second in line. They're almost as good. They also have their own heal with Light of the Protector. So the health bars can unexpectedly go up. Warriors can do that a little bit with Victory Rush, but it doesn't tend to happen nearly as much as Light of the Protector. So yeah, Warrior is my favorite thing to heal if I want an easy time of it. Paladin be second on the list. Then Druid and Monk are super fragile and real dicey and can be pretty stressful in any situation where, like, throughput is going to be a problem. Druid and Monk can get kinda stressful. And yeah, I haven't been to the level with this character where I would see Death Knights or Demon Hunters yet, but yeah, I don't know. That's the pattern I've been noticing. I don't know. Why I'm not in combat? My name doesn't have crossed swords on it. Why does it think I'm in combat? There we go. Yeah, so maybe this is just a discipline thing? Although I did notice, well, I saw almost no Brewmasters when I was leveling my own monk. They were uncommon. I saw plenty of druids though, and they all did fine, so maybe it's just the particular druids that I've gotten with this character. Or maybe there's some interaction between Discipline Priest and Guardian Druid that makes them not work well together. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, super fun run, super fun class to play. I'm sure you'll be seeing more of this character because I'm having a blast with her. See you next time.